Shalom, brothers and sisters. It's your brother Yahweh Sabah. I want to give all honor, glory, praise to Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. Peace, salutation to the hopeful elect scattered abroad across the four corners of the earth, learning or teaching this gospel in truth and sincerity. Shalom. Today I want to go over how masturbation is a sin, and we shouldn't do that because that's not according to the words of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. A lot of people like to give an excuse for it with the book of Romans, chapter 5, in verse 13. For until the law, sin was in the world, but sin is not imputed when there is no law. And it is in the law not to do this sexual immortality, like not to not to do that concupiscence. Read Romans 7. Paul goes over it as well. Well, we're not supposed to be doing this because it's in the law. Because that's an itchy ear doctrine, and you're not going according to Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai's words. If you're following that, you're doing what pleases you. That's an excuse to sin, as it says in the book of Sirach, and we shouldn't follow that. Because we need to follow righteousness, like Paul stated as well. Follow righteousness. Yeah. So now I'm gonna get into Genesis, get an example of this. This is Genesis chapter 38. I'm gonna start at verse 8. And Judah said unto Onan, Go unto thy brother's wife, and marry her, and raise up seed to thy brother. And Onan knew that the seed should not be his. So he knew that the seed was not his, it was his brother's. And it came to pass, when he went unto his brother's wife, so they're laying with each other, that means when they're having sex, that he spilled it on the ground. He spilled the seed on the ground, and seed is sperma. Well, it's not on this one, but it still means it's not. It's Zara, and that's semen, viral. So that's the semen. It's still semen though. So he spilled it on the ground because he knew that the seed was his brother's. It wasn't gonna be unto his, because the whole point was to raise up seed to thy brother, and he didn't want to do that, so he spilled it on the ground. Verse 10. And the thing which he did displeased Yahweh, wherefore he slew him also. So he died over this. So Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai don't play about that. And that's similar to masturbation. When you're jacking off, you're not putting your semen into anything. He spilled it on the ground, you're spilling it on the ground as well when you do that. Here's a definition of masturbation. Stimulation of the genital organs apart from sexual intercourse to orgasm. To have an orgasm is to spill it on the ground. So it's still similar. Having intercourse, that shows right there how it's similar. Because what Onan just did, he spilled it on the ground. So that's similar to masturbation. So that's why it joins hand in hand with it. So you have to watch out for people telling you that you could do this, because that's the itchy ear doctrine. Twisting the scriptures, like how I said beforehand. And that, like how the scriptures say that there will be many false apostles, and they'll deceive and be deceived. Kind of just paraphrasing. Yeah, you have to watch out for this. You can't listen to every wind of doctrine, as the scriptures say as well. So let's continue on. Let's get that. I want to go over that Colossians. The book of Colossians, chapter 3, verse 5. Mortify therefore your members which are upon the earth, fornication, uncleanness, inordinate affection, evil concupiscence, and covetousness, which is idolatry. So this is all. This goes into what that inordinate affection and evil concupiscence. That goes into idolatry. Of course, covetousness does too, and the fornication. But I'm just getting those two because that's what's getting into. Masturbation is a sin. Because we could get into this evil concupiscence. First, let's get evil of bad nature. So it's of bad nature. We get a little bit more into it. Salakia, a bad nature based on wicked. This is wicked. Go down here. It's evil, harm, wicked. It's evil. Okay. So, just wanted to, for edification's sake, evil concupiscence, desire, craving, desire for what is forbidden, lust. So you're lusting after that. You're lusting after that masturbation, which it leads to idolatry because you're doing it a lot and you get addicted to it. Con. And then I wanted to get into also right here, inordinate, irregular, disorderly, excessive, immoderate. So that's too much. When you're doing it too much, and that gets into addiction, man. Because when you're jacking off, you're doing that addictedly. Con. Like I wanted to get this as well. If I could find it, I had the right here. Salakia, yeah, inordinate definition. This is the definition that I read. It was from the Merriam-Webster dictionary when I read them out, because I know I read out that last one too as well, the masturbation definition. This is from the Merriam-Webster dictionary. So inordinate, it's exceeding reasonable limits. So you're exceeding it. You're going over reasonable limits. And that's going into like addiction as well, because that if you're addicted, you're doing it over the limits. You shouldn't do this at all because it's a sin. But it's getting into that. That's why it says inordinate con. Like I was just saying, inordinate affection. Right? Get that inordinate affection. And it goes down to affection, lust. So they tie in with each other. That's something you lust after Salakia, wanting to jack off and over a woman that you like, and you're spilling it on the ground, man. Like I was saying, Con. That's why you don't want to do this. Like if you get that inordinate, also off the Oxford Salakia definition, it's unequally, man. It's like I said, it's large, it's excessive, and it also similar to unnecessary, needless, because that's needless, man. It's better to marry than to burn, like Paul said, and you wanna follow what Paul said, because lest you be a castaway, because we're going for the prize, right? The eternal prize, and like it says in 1 Corinthians chapter 9. You want to read that? Because I brought that out before, and I was just paraphrasing it. We want to go for that eternal crown, man. That prize, eternal life, not the corruption. We want the incorruption crown. Con. All right, yeah. So now I want to get into that Proverbs chapter 6. Salakia, get that out. It's Proverbs chapter 6 in verse 24. To keep thee from a evil woman, from a flattery of a tongue of a strange woman. So you want to stay away from those type of women that have the flattery of a tongue of a strange woman, man, an evil woman. What I really wanted to get into was right here. Lust not after her beauty in thy heart, neither let her take thee with Slakia, neither let her take thee with her eyelids. So you don't want to lust after her in the beauty, Slakia, in thine heart, in your mind. Because you could be thinking about these women too and doing it as well, because the heart's the mind. You don't want to lust after these type of women, stumble not on the beauty, as the scriptures say. We got to learn from what David did with Bathsheba, right? He ended up sinning against Yahweh Shem Yahushai, and he got Uriah killed. It's like, if I said it wrong, that's what I'm saying though. He had someone set up for death just so he could be with this woman. And what happened? David lost the kid over it. Then he fasted after that happened, and then boom, Solomon came. Like how I was explaining in my fasting lesson, I just never got to bring it out. So con. And like that, we got to learn from our forefathers, like Romans 15:4. So con. And then that's lusting after a beauty in thy heart, which we know is the mind, man. You got to push away these evil thoughts and keep pushing forward. Just because she's beautiful and you want to do that because it's lust, you got to push it away. Because that's lusting after her with their eyelids too, Salakia, I'm going to say that to you, her eyelids. Yeah, let her take thee with her eyelids. Yeah, because like the scriptures say, you will know her by her eyelids, man. Like in a Sirach, she'll be known by her eyelids. The haughty whore, Con. All right, let me get that Matthew now. This is Matthew chapter 5, verse 28. This is Yahweh Shai speaking, red letter. But I say unto you that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery with her already in his heart. So you've already committed adultery with her in his heart. We know the heart's the mind, man. You have already committed adultery in your mind. That if you looketh on a woman to lust after, you've committed adultery, and that's another sin on top of that, man. You when you're doing that. That's why you want to stay away from this. That's why Yahushua said this. You don't want to look after the woman and lust after her. Because sin's abomination to Yahweh Shem Yahushai. And you're an enemy if you sin, as it says in the book of Tobit as well. So I'm going to get the book of Galatians. Chapter 5. I'll get verse 16. Slakia. Yeah. This is Sirach, chapter 5, verse 16. Then I say then, walk in the spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. For the flesh lusteth against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary to one. Slakia. These are contrary the one to the other, so that ye cannot do the things ye would. Yeah, so we see that the spirit is against the flesh, and the flesh is lusting against the spirit. So we know that we got to fight this. This is a spiritual battle. We're fighting every day. We're fighting the flesh every day. And like I said, I want to get this side precept. It's Sirach chapter 26, verse 9. The whoredom of a woman may be known in her haughty looks and eyelids. That's the one I was paraphrasing, and that's why you don't want to lust after her eye, man, because this is a whoredom woman. And that's the precept I was talking about. I just wanted, Salaki, I was taking time. I was pulling it up, you know. So yeah, that's why we don't want to follow after the lust of a woman, man. And yeah, we gotta fight the flesh daily and endure. Verse 17, for the flesh lusteth against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh. These are contrary to one another, so that ye cannot do the things that ye would. But if ye be led of the spirit, you are not under the law. Now the works of the flesh are manifest, and these are idolatry, fornication, uncleanness, and lasciviousness. So I wanted to get that in the book of. I want to get that as well in the NLT version as to show. That's why we wouldn't want to follow this. Let me get that first. That uncleanness. See, it says uncleanness, the impurity of lustful. So it's something that you're lusting after. You're unclean when you're lusting after that. And then like I said, how it goes with idolatry. That's why verse 20, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, and heresies. So this is part of the law, man, because it's idolatry. So that's why I was getting into this, to prove that, man. Like the scriptures say, prove all things. And bear with me, I'm trying to find this in the NLT version real quick. Okay, here it is. This is Galatians chapter 5 and verse 20 and in verse 19. When you follow the desires of your sinful nature, your lives will produce these evil results: sexual immorality, impure thoughts, eagerness for lustful pleasure. So yeah, that right there, that strong. Right there, it tells you that sexual immorality, that equals to the fornication and idolatry. So that's why Yahweh said that when you lusteth after the woman in your eyes, that you committed adultery in your heart, which is your mind. You already committed adultery, because that's that sexual immorality. So masturbation is a form of this. That's why we don't want to do that. You know, and I showed that example in Genesis 38, how it's all similar, because you're still laying down that sperm. You're spilling it on the ground. Something that would have to be cleaned up, you know? Let's get that. I want to get that, We get that Romans 7, what I was showing. So I'm going to get to Romans 7. And bear with me, I'm going to pull it out as well right here. Alright, yeah. So I can show it. So this is Romans 7. In verse 7. What shall we say then? Is the law sin? God forbid. Nay, I had not known sin. but by the law, for I had not known lust, except the law had, thou shalt not covet. So let's get that what that covet is, for edification's sake. Thou shalt not covet, to lust after, and then that's what it's saying, like it's in the law. Oh, Paul knew this, That's why we get it in I'll get it in the NLT as well. Well then, am I suggesting the law of God's evil? Of course not. The law is not sinful, but it was the law that showed me my sin. I would never have known that coveting is wrong if the law had not said, do not covet. Come on, man. It says it in the law. This is another proof right here. So that Romans 5:13, you can't use that. It's in the law. Con. So verse 8, but sin, taking occasion by the commandment, wrought in me all manner of concupiscence. For without the law, sin was dead. So, con. First, let's get what that concupiscence means. First, I'll get it on the blue letter. That desire, like I was saying. I know I've already explained it, but I just want to show it on here. What is forbidden lust? That strong sexual desire, man. I wanted to show it. Wanted to show it on here as well. That strong desire, passion, like it was saying. Concupiscence is to covet, to lust after, to desire or covet, lustful, unlawful, irregular desire of sexual pleasure. That's what this is getting into, man. That sexual pleasure. That's what it goes into. This goes in with masturbating, man. That's sexual pleasure. That's not what that is not, because it's excessive, man, as well. Like I was saying, Colossians chapter 3 and 5. Inordinate affection. And it goes to an addiction. In a more general sense, the coveting of carnal things, or an irregular appetite for worldly good, inclination for unlawful enjoyments. Worldly good, yeah, that's why we're not supposed to love the world. I'll bring that out as well. Con. Let me just finish this verse 8 and then I'll get it. Well, no, I'll finish the rest of this. Con. So it's like, but sin took advantage. Yeah, like, I was gonna read this, and I'm gonna read it in NLT. So this is verse 8. But sin, taking occasion by the commandment, wrought me in all manner of concupiscence. For without the law, sin was dead. So let's get this in NLT as well. But sin took advantage of this law and aroused all kinds of forbidden desires. Without the law, sin was dead. So it's a forbidden desire. You're not supposed to do this. Salakia, I meant to say, because forbidden desires within me. If there was no law, sin would not have that power. So that was continuing on in the NLT. Now I'm gonna get it back in KJV, verse 9. For I was alive without the law once, but when the commandment came, sin revived, and I died. So that's Paul's getting into it right now. That once he realized, like he learned the truth, that he realized he broke the law and was a sinner. He knew he was doomed unto death. He was doomed to die. So verse 11, for sin, taking occasion by the commandments, deceived me, and by it slew me. So see, by it slew him. He was guilty of death. Because sin was taking over him. Come on. Verse 12. Wherefore the law is holy, and the commandment holy, and just, and good. So he knows that the law is holy and good, and that the commandments are just. Verse 13. When, it's like it was then that which is good made death unto me, God forbid, but sin, that it might appear sin, working death in me by that which is good, that sin by the commandment might become exceeding sinful. So what Paul's explaining right there is that no, the this is what's good. The laws of Yahweh Shem Shai are good, and that's not what made him unto death. The the law didn't make him unto death. It's sin, which makes the death. Because but also he's explaining how sin was it wasn't like because God's commandments are good is what he was saying, and sin was used for its own evil purposes. The sin uses God's commandments for its own evil purposes. That's why because the sin is trying to bring him condemnation. That's why sin was trying to bring what was good to him, to bring about his condemnation. But we see that God's good commandment, because it's good, and sin was just using his commandments for its own evil purpose. That's why we have to overcome sin. So it's sometimes I gotta explain that more so people can understand that. So now we could get into I want to get that 1 John. Let's get that 1 John chapter 2:15. Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, and the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, and is not of the Father, but is of the world. Because I wanted to get that out as well, because that concupiscence. So if I said it wrong, it got in with it that you're loving after the world. And so if you're doing this addiction and masturbation, you're not loving Yahweh Shem Yahushua, you're loving the world. If you love me, keep my commandments. And you want to follow Yahweh Shem Yahushua's commandments, because we know that we can't lust after things that's not part of the law. So we're not supposed to love this world. Like how it says in James 4:4, you're an enemy of this world. If it's like you're an enemy to him if you love the world. So we gotta overcome that. So I'll get that. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 21. You cannot drink the cup of the Lord and the cup of devils. You cannot be partakers of the Lord's table and the table of devils. So you gotta choose a side. You want to follow righteousness or you want to follow the wicked. It's all a balance, man. This is all a balance. You gotta follow after righteousness, and like Paul said, and that's what it's getting into. We can't. Plenty other precepts that say follow after righteousness. In this book, I'm just showing one example. That's why we have to. Yahweh Shai said you can't serve God and mammon. You gotta pick a side. Can't be a covetous person in this walk. You got to be in the fruits of the Spirit, like how I brought out. I didn't go deep into that, but it was in that Galatians 5. So we have to be in the fruits of the Spirit. Let's get to James. So this is the book of James, chapter 1. In verse 14, but every man is tempted, and when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed, verse 15, then when the lust hath conceived, it bringeth forth sin, and when it is finished, bringeth forth death. So you know the wages of sin are death. And God give verse 16, do not err, my brethren. And that's the thing. We don't want to err. We don't want to die. You know, we want to die for Yahweh Shem Yahushai for the loss. You know what I mean? But we don't want to die in doing wickedness. You know, Con. Get to verse 17. To every good gift and every gift is from above and cometh down from the Father of lights, with whom is no variableness, neither shadow of turning. So we know every good gift comes from Yahweh Shem Yahushai from above, which is from heaven, man. You know, he created all this, all the heavens lights. You know, everything Yahweh Shem Yahushai created. You know. So we don't want to err and end up dying over this, you know, because that's all bad. That's evil actions, which lead to death. It's all evil. You got to be on the good side. It's good and evil. It's all a balance, like I was saying. Let's get to that 1 Peter chapter 2. Let's get 11. Dearly beloved. It's like, dearly beloved, I beseech you as strangers and pilgrims, abstain from fleshly lust, which war against the soul. Con. And then that's what's going on. And the fleshly lust was war against the soul. That's why I brought it out in Galatians 5. The spirit is against the flesh. They're fighting each other. And we got to just keep fighting and endure to the end that we shall be saved. Yahweh Radazah. So Con is in verse 12, having your conversation honest among the Gentiles, that whereas they speak against you as evildoers, they may by your good works, which they shall behold, glorify God in the day of visitation. So Con, we got to be that light unto them. We got to have these good works to be able to have them follow Yahweh Shai like how we are. Con, because This is the way, and you know, to eternal salvation by enduring to the end, and that's why we got to be careful. Like what this precept is stating as well. Like be careful how you live among your unbelieving neighbors, because even they can accuse us of doing wrong, and they will see the honorable behavior, and they might believe. That's what I'm saying, because they'll be able to believe off of our behavior, off of us being the light, and that's what, and they'll be able to give honor to God and Yahweh Shem Yahushai, who what I meant is by God when He comes to judge the world. You know, in the day of visitation, that's the judge in the world, and then that's the thing. We got to be that light unto them, so they'll even want to get baptized in the name of Yahweh Shai for remission of sins in that water. We gotta set the example. That's what that's getting into. So Con, I know this is probably a cool amount of precepts. I didn't expect it to be that long, but in the spirit, Yahweh Radazah, this is edifying. Let me finish it off with that. Romans 13:14. Put ye on the Lord Yahweh Shai Mashiach, and make not provision for the flesh to fulfill the lust thereof. And that's what we need to do in these last days. We need to put on the Lord Yahweh Shai Mashiach and make not provision for the flesh. We got to fight against this, man, because this is a sin that we can't let happen. Because we got to endure to the end that we might be saved. And we don't want to sin against Yahweh Shem Yahushai. You don't want to have a bad conscience against Him. So Con Yahweh Radazah, this is edifying. I want to get Matthew chapter 26 and verse 6. Now when Yahweh Shai was in Bethany in the house of Simon the leper, there came unto him a woman having an alabaster box of very precious ointment, poured it on his head as he sat at meat. But when his disciples saw it, they had indignation, saying, to what purpose is this waste? For this ointment might have been sold for much and given to the poor. When Yahweh Shai understood it, he said unto them, why trouble ye the woman? For she hath wrought a good work upon me. For ye have the poor always with you, but me ye have not always. For in that she hath poured this ointment on my body, she did it for my burial. Verily I say unto you, wheresoever this gospel shall be preached in the whole world, there shall also this that this woman had done be told for a memorial of her. And with that, I want to give all honor, glory, and praise to Yahweh Hashem Shai. Peace, salutations to the hopeful elect scattered abroad across the four corners of the earth, learning or teaching this gospel in truth and sincerity. Shalom.